My narcissistic sister tried to end me, and my family brushed it off as a joke. Now everyone realizes how messed up she is. So, a little background. I am the second youngest of 5 kids. My older siblings are 2 brothers and 1 older sister, whom we'll call X for the purposes of this post. X and I have a 5-year age gap, and as a result, we never really had that sisterly bond you would expect most sisters to have. Growing up, I was always a burden to her, and anytime it was my turn to pick the family movie, or really anything, she would get upset. The reason is that she had control issues as early as 9, so I'm guessing you can already see where I'm going with this. I'm currently 18, about to turn 19, woohoo. And X turned 24 earlier this year. Her boyfriend Y proposed to her on a family beach day earlier in June of this year. It was one of those big white letters and rose petals proposals that he set up before my family arrived. She was thrilled, said yes, and my parents were very happy along with my older siblings. The youngest is 4, so I don't think she understood what was happening. Now here's the drama. Since the proposal, she has gone into full bridezilla mode. At the behest of my mom, X made me a bridesmaid, so I'm roped into all the BS. So far, these are the demands my dear sister has made. All bridesmaids are to pay for their own dress, a $300 dress, in blush pink, shoes, hair, and makeup. All bridesmaids need to attend all wedding and bachelorette events, including A. The bachelorette spa day, $800 each. B. The bachelorette vacation weekend to Toronto and stay at the Fairmont Hotel, $1,000 weekend just for hotel. C. The dress appointments, even if just for the bride. All alterations covered by the person themselves, $300 dress plus approx. $300 alterations, etc. D. All things to do with the wedding cake, venue, catering, etc. They need to attend. For the cake and food tasting, they all need to pay $25. The guests and the bridal groom party need to pay $150 to reserve their spots. And gifts have to be either cash, a check, or from the list of registry items. She has a spreadsheet of what everyone is gifting and has said she will return items that aren't from her registry or match her theme. My mom says it's bride anxiety. I say it's just my sister trying to control everything because she wants a December wedding on a ski hill. Blah. Anyway, I figure if people are interested, I could update periodically on what happens. Thanks for reading. Edit. I realized I didn't include the controlling parts. My bad. Here they are. 1. All bridesmaids need to go to hair and skin appointments every 6 weeks to ensure our hair and skin are flawless for pictures. It's out of pocket too. 2. Anyone with tattoos needs to cover them. Our dresses will do that. They go to the neck, ankles, and wrists. The bride wants to be the only one sleeveless, showing her tattoos and colorful hairstyle. Either we need to get our hair dyed to a natural color or wear a wig at our expense. 3. The dresses only come in sizes 0 to 10, a pretty good range for most, but those who don't fit are expected to try to lose weight. I'm a size 12, and already my sister is calling me fat. She's sent me a keto diet book through Amazon. 4. No one vendors is to communicate directly with the bride or groom. It has to go through us first. She made a Gmail with last name wedding, which we all have access to, and we aren't supposed to ask her if something is okay. We should just know. This is the part that stresses mom out. 5. We need to remind the guests that they need to pay a deposit of $150 to save their spot, and if we don't get it, they don't come. We also need them to confirm what they'll purchase from the registry or the amount they'll give. Edit 2. Y'all are making me realize my family isn't normal. I'm going to look into therapy with my university and see if I can move into residence earlier. I want to thank the person who private messaged me about getting my mom off my bank account and also getting my birth certificate, etc. I think I'm going to do that after I talk to the people at the bank. I texted my mom, I'm at work right now if her dad and I could talk about it while X was gone to her fiance's for the night. I'm hoping to show my mom and dad this post to help them understand where I'm coming from. Edit 3. I'm going to take some time away from this alt just because a lot of you are right. This isn't normal. Our relationship as a family is not normal. I called my aunt while I was at work. For those of you who don't know, she's my godmother and she thinks my mom is nuts, and we talked about it. She's encouraging me to talk to my parents about everything, not only the wedding but favoritism, etc. since childhood, and she's also on standby in case things go to SHD. My shift at work finishes in a few more hours. Then I'll go home and pack a quick bag of stuff for my aunt to grab before my parents and I talk. Relevant comments. Overall, she's going to have to accept that finances rule a lot of people's lives, and that if she's not going to come back down to earth, it's going to keep people from being able to participate like you. OP. That's what I try to tell her, but she won't listen. Her fiance makes $120K plus a year as a tech dude, and she's an accountant making $100K herself, so it's easy for her to afford this. Tell your mom and sister that you won't participate until someone pays all of your costs. Your mom should not try to keep the peace when your sister is a raging harpy. I hope her fiance backs out. OP. He won't. He loves her spice. He's a very calm man though, so they match really well. He's the only one who can calm her down. How does his family feel about the admission fee to his wedding? OP. It's normal on his side of the family. They say it's normal in Italian families, but I just found out it isn't. This is insane. I completely agree with you, OP. OP. The problem for me is that I can't afford it without going into debt for my student loans. Interest on student loans right now is 26%, so I'm scared to be in debt. Tell your mom you don't have the sort of money being a bridesmaid for a sister will involve. Tell sis she is free to include you outside of the wedding party. You will probably find that you will lead the charge. OP. She has 13 bridesmaids, 12 bridesmaids, 1 mo, and it's to match the fraternity class of her fiance. He had 13 people. He became brother brothers within his class. I don't know what it means, but it's special, so if I drop out, 2 of the guys would need to walk together. Let them. OP, I should. Important comment by OP. I have talked to her. She says it's my job, as her sister, to save up. Mom and dad are paying for the wedding almost $100,000, so they can't give me the $2,000 for my expenses. I'm going to university in the fall, and my tuition is $17,000. Weird parental choices. Here $100K for a wedding, but let a child pay their own tuition. Did your sister go to college? I'd be asking my parents to pay my college fees, etc., and telling them I don't want a $100,000 wedding equal to the kids. Also, if they can spring for $100,000, then what's another 2? OP, tuition has always been ours to pay. Mom and dad saved money for everyone's wedding or honeymoon. Update part 1. 1 week later. Firstly, I just wanted to apologize for how long this has taken. My parents originally planned to talk that night, but mom said she wasn't feeling well and decided to go to sleep early around 6 p.m. and that feeling stayed for a while. We then got busy moving my sister into her fiance's place, and by the time everything settled, my parents forgot we had something to discuss and kind of brushed it off to the side. We finally had the conversation 2 days ago, and I needed a day to think and just react to things. So it turns out my dad never knew the whole story. He knew he was responsible for paying for my sister's dress and a portion of the wedding or honeymoon. The reason for this is that my parents told me dad confirmed with bank records that my parents had been setting up 25K accounts for myself and each of my siblings. The rule was that these accounts could be used for anything once we turned 19 and went off to post-secondary. It was our money to use. I just turned 19 and my dad was getting ready to sign the money over to me when we had this conversation, which caused a bit of a blow-up. But right now I need to give some background information I was given. Right after my sister got engaged, she apparently had a conversation with my mom about how she always felt like the child was left out. She's used this line before, so I do believe my mom fell for it and was guilt-tripping. As a result of a very long conversation, my mom figured that she could divert some of the funds from all the kids' accounts to pay for my sister's wedding. For those wondering, my 2 older brothers are in the military. They aren't married yet and they live on base. They never use their 25K because the army in Canada pays for your education, housing, etc. So my mom had $50,000 at her disposal. Then, combined with my sister's and my 25K, it would have been $100K. Mom figured that because I had $17,000 saved up, she could just give me $15,000 later for a car or a house payment or wedding blah. Sister did this because, again, she is a master manipulator. Side note. Thank you to the wonderful Redditors who sent me to various subreddits for narcissism and support, along with those who sent articles on it to me and a possible narcissist. She used some of my mom's mental and physical health conditions against her. When I was born, my mom went through very bad PPD, resulting in her leaving a treatment facility for 4 months, leaving my sister, 2 brothers, me, and dad behind. My 2 older brothers at the time were 9 and 7 at the time, and me, only a few months. Sister, for reference, was 5 or just shy of 5. I honestly don't care to calculate. Since my brothers were trouble, my dad had his hands full, and a live-in nanny did the stuff for me, so my sister had little to no attention at an age where attention is important. I think that triggered the bad sides of her to come out. While the nanny did help sister with the basics: food, water, bath, clothes, and a little play, she wasn't a replacement for mom. When mom came back, my sister had a huge grudge, but not against mom but against me. I was the reason mom left, which led to her trying to smother me with a pillow. Mom caught her in time, and it was a funny story for us as a family. It turns out that's a coping mechanism. Over my childhood, my sister has used manipulation to get what she wants, and she did it for the wedding too. Mom felt bad and decided to give her little dove everything she desired. Common things I heard growing up were, "You always give me XYZ, I want this." Proceeds to have a meltdown as my sister grew up. It wasn't little toys and candy anymore, but girls go on trips. As a result of this, my dad and I grew very close. He's my best friend. My sister and I had a decent relationship when I was 12-14, but it changed again when mom got pregnant with my youngest sister. It was an accident, lol, and I became the target again for her rage and abuse. While I know it doesn't excuse a lot of things, I figured it would be important to give you the whole story. Update part 2. So, now that the background information is complete, here's what happened. A day after my sister moved out, I asked my mom and dad to please finally have the conversation with me. Mom was feeling better, so we sat down and started talking. I told them how I felt, how much of a financial toll it would be on me, how it wasn't fair, etc. Well, dad blew up. He didn't know about the $100,000 or the things the sisters were doing, etc. He didn't like the fact that mom used a lot of "your father and I agree" talk, even though they hadn't. I showed group chat screenshots. We worked through the wedding issue. I don't have to attend, and the $25K for me issue dad is signing it over early. Then I was asked to go to my room for a bit because dad and mom wanted to talk. They settled the budget issue on their own. Dad then asked why I didn't feel comfortable talking to them earlier, so I showed them this post. My dad snapped. He immediately called my sister and told her to come here ASAP because he needed to talk to her and would not accept excuses. She said she would be here in 4 hours because she was with her fiance and his parents. Dad pressed and she hung up and blocked him. Dad told me to go to my room once again, but to leave my phone so they could go over the post and see the comments. I don't know exactly what happened, but mom came to talk to me later. She then told me about the PPD, etc. I didn't know about it earlier. We solved our issues, and I finished by asking if my sister would go to therapy because mom was convinced that the 4-month leave caused this stuff in her her. She said she'd try, but couldn't force it. I told her if her sister doesn't go, I'm going NC with her, and possibly LC with mom. Dad then joined the conversation and assured me I would get my money, and I wouldn't have to go to a wedding if I didn't want to. Since her sister is charging $150 per guest, she can pay for her grandson's wedding through that. Soon to be Bill and his family aren't paying for SHT apparently, so now they have to, or his sister doesn't get to have her ski hill wedding. Speaking of the $150 fee, y'all were right. It was her sister who concocted the whole thing and told mom it was an Italian thing. We talked to Sister Mill when she dropped her sister off. Sister doesn't drive, and Mill was shocked that sister had said that. There is apparently a money dance, but there is no $150 fee. So on to what happened when my sister came back. She came after 5 hours, and while Mill was there, she was sweet as pie. But when Mill left, oh lord, the gates to hell broke. She demanded why Dad disturbed the peaceful evening and demanded he drive her back. Dad said he didn't care and to sit down. She refused, and they fought. Finally, she sat down after Dad started pulling out various tricks, including money or telling Mill about her true nature, which I guess her fiancé hasn't seen much of. I was excused from my room again. There was a lot of angry yelling back and forth, and a lot of manipulation from her sister, including threats of LCNC or not seeing possible grandkids in the future. She was trying to get mom to go back to the original plan, the $100,000 plan, and mom and dad weren't budging. The fighting continued and stopped when my dad yelled, saying mom isn't her punching bag and her PPD is not her fault, and if she was that angry about it, go to therapy. After that, I was called back down and we went over all the issues. Starting with the keto book, my sister tried to defend me, saying I was fat and lazy, but my dad defended me. Sister started to cry, and mom told dad to be a little softer, which he did. We finally discussed everything, and I felt like part of the family instead of like a punching bag. Sister eventually got an Uber and left because she was being attacked. We're going to wait until Christmas time when brothers are back in town so we can all discuss what we need as a family to go forward and be healthy. But it will most likely be therapy or cutting her out. Mom and dad are still figuring out the full budget issue with my sisters in-laws. My parents told them that for such a wedding to happen, everyone would need to contribute. In-laws agreed that $100,000 for a wedding is insane. Last I heard, her sister will get her $15K for the wedding, which is basically $5K because of the $10K dress since it's already ordered. The other $10K is being held for something tangible, and then her in-laws are being generous and helping with $15K, $10 to the wedding, $5 to the honeymoon. As for my schooling, dad and I are going to the bank tomorrow, and we're going to pay the cancellation fee for the loan I had to take out. The loan only officially starts when I start school, so thankfully the cancellation fee is very small. My dad is paying for the fee because he admits that I should have never had to take the loan out. My parents agreed that my first year of university, along with housing costs, would not come out of my budget $17K or $25K, so they would pay themselves. The full amount that they budgeted for me is going to be transferred into something called a TFSA for later in life. Well, mom and I still have a somewhat rocky relationship, and my sister absolutely hates me. She blamed me for everything and said that I had caused irreparable damage to her relationship with her fiancé and in-laws. Because of this, she's banned me from the wedding and from her life. I honestly don't care. I don't really see it as losing a sister. I see it as losing a bully. I made a promise to my mom and dad that I would never treat my younger sister like that. I'm going to be the role model she deserves, and I'm going to be her protector like my brothers and my father were for me. I think I covered everything that needs to be covered, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm very thankful for the subreddit for teaching me what a real family is about, and for teaching me about boundaries and communication. Have an amazing life, you gorgeous humans. Updated relevant comments. One thing I want to bring up that seemed to be blown over. Your sister tried to murder you. That is a big deal. I hope that in therapy, you take the time to talk about this. It's a huge deal. It's traumatic, and the fact that your parents used it as a funny excuse is not okay. It's awful, and I sincerely hope that you really force your mom to address why she allowed this behavior to happen. Why didn't she put your sister in therapy right then and there? It's important to get answers to these questions, and your sister owes you an apology. You may also want to consider making sure her fiancé knows about the money she demanded. He deserves to know what he is getting into. OP, mom and dad didn't make it a funny story at first. It was the sister mainly saying, oh, it was a joke, it was a joke. When we were older, of course, because my parents never left me alone with my older sister. Either they were in the room or my eldest brother was beside me. It was only after I was 10, 11 and my sister and I started to have an okay relationship that the joke was made. I forgave her and honestly thought it was a joke. I now know it wasn't, and she has hated me since day one. As for the therapy, I forgot to mention she did go from 7 to 10. Originally, it was just a doctor who spoke to her once a month from 4.5-ish to 6.5-ish, but she learned how to say exactly what they wanted to hear, so they discontinued the need for visits. My dad was okay with this. My mom wanted the second opinion and found the best child psychologist in Alberta for my sister, and they took her on for 3, almost 4 years. Towards the end, they said they taught her everything and helped her with trauma, etc. But I feel like she just became really good at telling them what they wanted to hear. As for her fiancé, he knows. I texted him a long text and voice message, and we talked on the phone for 2 hours. At the end, he just kind of shrugged it off. In hindsight, I think he was in on it. He also displays some concerning traits. Do your parents feel like they failed your sister by letting her go on like this for so long? She was neglected and tried smothering you with a pillow, and it was a family joke. I feel like your parents are dumping all the mistakes they made hate on her when they're just as involved. OP. I definitely do think it played a role. She showed signs of some concerning behavior as a toddler, pushing, biting, or purposely hurting my brothers or kids in daycare. But I think the thing that really broke her was not having a mom. Dad did the boys, the nanny did me mainly and her, and my aunt handled the motherly things for her. But she's no replacement for mom. The problem is that while things did get better when I was 12, sister talked to me about why she hated me, how she thought I was taking up attention, etc. At 14, she started hating me again because little sister was in mom's belly. I do know that my sister went to therapy from ages 7-10 because she had a grudge against mom, and when mom stepped in to protect a then 3-6-year-old me, my sister would take it out on the house mom or would yell at the dog. Yeah, your dad doesn't just get out the blame by saying he decided not to raise her because he wants to raise the boys the same way your mom doesn't get to cater to her every demand. This is literally awful parenting you're describing, which made your sisters insane. I understand you like your dad, but from her perspective, I think they both created her and are a huge part of the reason you spent your life being bullied. They failed both of you so badly by not seeing the severity of her apology. She never stopped being that neglected at 5 years old. OP. I mean, it's not like dad chose to only raise the boys. I mean it in the sense that we only had one car. The boys were both in football, hockey, and lacrosse. They were always on the road. And when dad was there and he would take sister out on father-daughter dates 2 times a week, she would get upset if she didn't get a new toy or a new gadget. She loved these things called pixel checks. Even when she stopped using them and I wanted to play at 3, she suddenly became very possessive over them. And at month 2, mom was allowed to stay for weekends with us, and she would stay with her sister watching movies, braiding hair, reading stories, etc. I honestly don't think that is neglect. They stepped in when she showed worsening signs, and I was never ever alone with my sister because of the pillow incident. They took her to therapy, and the doctors gave her a clean bill of health. I honestly just think she's a master manipulator. OP in another comment. To show you what she's like, she stole her fiancé from another girl she knew, all because she wanted him and didn't care about the other girl. Therapists often wait until a person is over 18 to diagnose BPD, hoping that a child will grow out of the behaviors of an adult. People with BPD are often master manipulators and can fool therapists by masking their behaviors, lying about their actions, and lying about how they feel in a very believable way, almost like an actor playing a role. They always have a reason in their heads for why they are doing what they do, which can fool others who do not see both sides of the story. OP. Well, SHT, I'm about to go down another rabbit hole. My sister will refuse to go to a doctor though, unless it was to prove she was right all along. B didn't even let me have a Lalaloopsy doll without stealing it and burning the damn thing. Going to NC seems to be the best option for people around those with untreated BPD. Don't feel bad about it. Your life will be much more peaceful without the drama and crazy accusations. Don't worry about getting your sister into therapy either. Therapy only works if you are honest and willing to change. Often, people with BPD are neither. You should look into therapy for yourself. I did, and it really helped me, along with reading forums for families dealing with these kinds of issues. Parents are often enablers who try to keep the family together out of a desire for normalcy. But having a disordered sibling is anything but normal. Once you recognize it's not normal, you can begin to heal. OP. Yeah, mom has a therapy session this Monday for the money and guilt trip thing. Her and her dad have couples therapy after. I'm starting therapy on my own for a plethora of things. My brothers, well, there are hundreds of kilometers away, so I don't know what's going on with them, and my sister is playing house. My little sister wasn't there when the argument happened. We made sure she had a play date with her friend from daycare. Update 3 months later. Hey everyone, I figured I would update you since it's been a very long time. I apologize. I lost the login to this account, but just found it. So on to the update. Family therapy is going really well. My 2 brothers were given temporary leave to come back to Canada. They were both stationed overseas for a bit. I believe they have to go back after this to help the process along. Our family is getting back on track, and my mom and I are closer than ever. It honestly feels like I have my best friend back. As for my sister, honestly, I don't know what's going on with her. A friend of mine still follows her social media, and everything seems well. The wedding was moved up to November 26th instead of December 17th, like she originally planned. She and her fiancé have bought a place. Apparently, and this is rumored, she's pregnant. She's cut all of us off, and her fiancé's family is talking SHT about us, but we're holding strong. In other, more exciting news, I'm loving Ottawa. I go back home once a month for in-person therapy, but I also have 3 virtual sessions monthly. On top of that, my oldest brother is getting married. So while I lost a terrible sister, I gained an amazing sister. She's so sweet, texts me every couple of days, gets me Uber, and eats orders when I'm down, despite being provinces away. She's so sweet. She asked if I would feel comfortable being her mo. She's an only child, and her mom passed away, and I agreed. So by this time next year, I'll have an official new sister. There's not a whole lot else to say, but I also have a boyfriend. He's in the army too, couldn't get away from it, I guess, and very supportive and loving. Our 1-month anniversary is in January, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you so much, Reddit. You are all amazing, beautiful, and soulful humans, and I hope you all have prosperous, healthy, and fruitful lives. I love you all. Sincerely, Cute Quarter 19399. Update. Post-wedding update. Hello, everyone. A lot of people wanted to know what happened at the wedding yesterday, so I will provide the update. My family and I were banned from going, but my cousins and friends and her husband's family filled me in, so not a whole lot happened at the ceremony. The Mog mother of groom showed up in an off-white dress, and a few people brought their kids despite it being a child-free ceremony. But no true drama happened until the reception. I somewhat feel bad for my sister because of this. But the Moog invited one of the groom's exes, I guess to hope that it would break them up. But it didn't work. She tried to get between my sister and her now husband. But her husband, and I give him props for this, told her to leave. Honestly, all around, it wasn't dramatic. They made it to the altar and are leaving for their honeymoon today or tomorrow. But one thing that was confirmed is that my sister is definitely pregnant. At the end of the wedding speeches, the groom said his with a slideshow, and the last slide was an ultrasound picture and baby last name due June 2023. Sorry, it isn't much of an update.